أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بالله أن يحضرون إنه هو السميع العليم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفدا ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد فقد قال سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من عمل صالحا فلنفسه ومن أساها فعليها وما ربك بظلام للعبيد. Recite it out, salawat. With this hope and prayer that inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to get maximum benefit from this remaining days of the month of Shabaan and prepare ourselves for the holy month of Ramadan, recite another loud salawat. With the hope and the prayer that inshallah in the holy month of Shabaan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to connect ourselves towards this personality of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad alayhimus salam, and try to connect ourselves and try to become the true follower of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad alayhimus salam. Recite another loud salawat. Brothers and sisters, the value of the human being, the status of the human being, and if you want to understand that what a human being is all about, we have to see that what he believes in, his belief system, his worldview, his understanding about the reality is the most important thing that we have to know and understand to find out the status and the value of a human being. And also, this is the one thing. And the second thing is that we have to look at his actions and his performance based on his value system. What he believes in, how much he acts upon that belief system, according to that belief system. And this is known as in Quran and Hadith, when we look at the Quranic ayat and Hadith, this is known as Iman and Amal Saleh. And this, as I mentioned to you, it is not just about Islamic worldview that we are talking about. If we want to understand the reality of a human being, understand the status of the human being, this is the reality of the human being, that you want to know, that if you want to understand and see, if you want to talk to a person, if you want to have an interaction with a person, if you want to understand who he is, what his value is, what type of interaction you should have with this person, you have to look at what he believes in, what his value system is, what his understanding is about the world is, his worldview. You want to understand it first. And secondly, you have to see his actions, how much these actions are according to his belief system. Okay? And as I mentioned to you, this is known as Iman and Amal Saleh in Quran and Hadith. That's why again and again and again in Quran, more than 100 times it is mentioned about Iman and Amal Saleh. Man amila salihan min dhakarin aw unsa wa huwa mu'minun. So both Iman and Amal Saleh are mentioned. The famous surah that we recite, and most of you have memorized that surah, Wal Asr. Inna al-insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to mention that, with this principle that I am mentioning, that Inna al-insana lafi khusr, the insan, the human being in itself is in khusran, in loss. Except there is an exemption. What is an exemption? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned about Iman and Amal Saleh. And then how to continue and be steadfast in this Iman and this Amal Saleh collectively, that is mentioned later on. But the base and the foundation is this thing, this Iman and Amal Saleh. And that is mentioned again and again. And through this understanding of Iman and Amal Saleh, our worldview and our action, which is according to that Iman, we can easily justify this point that both of them, both Iman and Amal Saleh, are important, and both of them are playing a primary role in the creation of a reality of a human being. And if we deny one of them, it means that we are denying the reality of the human being and the perfection that he can achieve through his Iman and his action. So if a person comes, if there is a belief system, if there is a group of people who say that, okay, if you have Iman, that's enough. There is no need for the Amal Saleh. Definitely we will say that, okay, you have selected one part of one pillar of this foundation of the human being, but you have rejected another foundation which is very important. And without that, this human being cannot get and reach his perfection. Same is the way the other side of the picture. There is a group of people who say that, okay, if your actions are good, if you are performing good deeds, if you are doing the charity, if you are created an NGO, you are performing good tasks, don't worry about your Iman, what your belief system is. Whatever you believe is, you will reach that peace and tranquility. We reject both of these views. We say that no, Iman and Amal Saleh, both of them are important, and both of them are foundational thing that is important in our life, both as far as Islamic worldview is concerned. And other than that, I said that, okay, if you look at the human being, if you want to understand the human being, both of these things you normally want to evaluate that what this person believe in, and are these actions that he is performing is according to his belief system or no. This is first part. Second important thing for us to understand is that the relationship between Iman and Amal Saleh is not one-way traffic. It is not the case that sometimes we think that the action that we perform comes based on what we believe in. If I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, definitely my actions are also according to that Iman. But we have to understand one thing, that the relationship between Iman and Amal Saleh is a two-way traffic. Your Iman is affecting your Amal, and your Amal is affecting your Iman. So, if I have a right belief system, how I can understand that my belief system is true and it is correct, and I truly believe in it, I have a true Iman in that, I have to see at my actions. If my actions is according to that Iman and that belief system, it means that what I am saying with my tongue is my true belief. But if my actions are not according to my Iman, what I am saying or my claiming, it means that my Iman is not perfect right now. Vice versa. Like if I have to look, this is the way of understanding the relationship between Amal and Iman. On the other hand, if I want to see that there was a basic Iman belief system that I have, what type of change it happened after like few years that I live in this world, I have to see at my actions. If my actions are improving, it means that my Iman is also improving. There is a two-way traffic that is going on between Iman and Amal Saleh. These two important things that I mentioned here, that first of all, we are made up of our Iman and our actions, and secondly, the relationship between Iman and action is a two-way traffic. And if you look at the Quranic ayat and the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, again and again we see this relationship which Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam has mentioned again and again, that what type of relationship is there between Iman and Amal Saleh. And we have to be careful. There's a group of people who come to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, to Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salatu was salam. And he said that, okay, like there is a group of people who say that we believe in you, we are the Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, but they are not performing actions. Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam clearly say that they just claim these things, but they do not have any type of relationship with us. We do not accept them as our Shia, because it is not possible that if the Iman is a true Iman, definitely it will show itself in the form of action that is coming out, and vice versa too. Now if this is the case, when the Iman and Amal Saleh has that type of relationship, one important question that we have to ask is specifically the month that we are getting closer to, the holy month of Ramadan, I have to ask myself that this month of Ramadan, how many holy month of Ramadan I have passed till now? Like suppose that if my age is around 40, then I have passed around 40 holy month of Ramadan. And if I talk about after my bulugh, almost 25, 26 years of 25, 26 holy month of Ramadan that I passed by. I have to ask this question that as far as the actions are concerned, I have performed a lot of actions. But I have to evaluate myself. I have to do an accountability. I have to find out that what happened to me, what happened to my reality. Am I getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And every step that I am taking, every day that I am living in this world, every step that every action that I am performing in this world, every fast that I am taking, is it the case that I am getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or no? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned in the Quran that كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, that was the goal of the fasting and the holy month of Ramadan overall, that we should become muttaqi. Now this is the question that I have to ask. This month that is coming, again, we will be busy in all these actions that we perform. Inshallah, all of us has the tawfiq to do the fasting. Inshallah, all of us has the tawfiq, inshallah, to recite the holy book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this question I have to ask myself, that isn't it the case that in the past holy month of Ramadan, I have finished tens of times holy month of Holy Quran completely from Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim to Wan Nas. I have performed the fast and I was hungry and thirsty from the morning till night for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But was it the case that these things, these actions that I performed was really becoming the part and parcel of my reality, my Iman? And my Iman become deeper and deeper and stronger. It become enrooted in myself and now I become strong. If this is the reality or no? As I mentioned to you that sometimes we become so busy in these actions, which are important. As I mentioned to you that Amal is important. We have to perform the Amal. We have to perform these acts that we are performing in the holy month of Ramadan. From fasting to recitation of the Holy Quran, to all the ibadat that we perform, all the supplication that we recite. These are important. Sadaqat and khairat that we do, Sahar and Iftar that we invite our brothers and sisters to our home. Each and every step is very important. Look at this sermon of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he said that, okay, if you recite one ayah, the thawab and the reward that you are getting is the reward of the one Holy Quran that you finish in the other than holy month of Ramadan. When you invite a person just with a small piece of date, when a sip of drink of water, you are inviting this person for the iftar, what type of thawab that are mentioned there? All of them are true, all of them are important, and we have to perform this. But the important thing is this accountability that we have to do that, okay, how these actions are changing myself, my reality. Is this the case that these actions are truly the actions that I have to perform in this way that I am doing or no? So while we are trying to perform and accomplish the quantity that we have to perform in this holy month of Ramadan and every day that the actions that we are performing, the things that we have to ask ourselves that what type of effect it has on ourselves, our Iman and my reality. Am I getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is my reality is improving the day before the fasting that I performed? This holy month of Ramadan, the 30th of Shabaan or 29th of Shabaan, the way I was on 1st of Shawwal, am I the same or I have improved myself? This is a question that we have to ask again and again. And for that we have to understand the reality of actions and its impact on our life and our Iman. And inshallah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me the tawfiq, that I just want to emphasize on one point statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That he mentioned at the end of this sermon, which is famously known as Khutbah Shabaniya of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he explained the importance of the holy month of Ramadan. But at the end of this sermon of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned this in the Ya ayyuhan nas qad aqbala ilaykum shahrullah, that a month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is coming towards you. It is a month of maghfirah, it is a month of rahmah, it is a month of barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that will be revealed on you. He mentioned all the thawab, that in this month, if you sleep, this sleep is counted as a ibadah in the front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where each and every breath that you take in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these days and nights, it will be counted as that you are performing the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you recite one ayah of Quran, it will be counted as a recitation of the complete Quran in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now all these actions that is mentioned by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this sermon, which is a very important sermon, and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you tawfiq, at least recite one time this complete sermon before the month of Ramadan. He asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he asked us that you should request to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He should give you the tawfiq. Fas'alullah rabbakum. You should ask, you should beg to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Lord, your nurturer. What we have to ask? بِنِيَّاتِ الصَّادِقَةِ وَقُلُوبِ الطَّاهِرَةِ, with this pure intention and with the purification of your heart. What you have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? أَن يُوَفِّقَكُمْ لِصِيَامِهِ وَتِلَاوَةِ كِتَابِهِ, that He should give you the tawfiq, that you can able to perform the fasting in the proper sense, and you are able to recite the holy book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, beg in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, request Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I have mentioned you the thawab and the reward that you get if you perform these tasks, but you have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He should give you the tawfiq. If the tawfiq is not there, you are not able to perform these tasks properly. Now, as I mentioned to you that He mentioned the thawab, He mentioned the actions, He mentioned the reward and the thawab that you get. He also mentioned to us that, okay, what is the way that you can get and achieve these targets? After giving all these details of this, what is mentioned in the sermon, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam was there. Recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala. At that time, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said like this, Kumtu. Imam said that Imam is mentioned to the narrator, he is narrating like this, Kumtu, faqultu ya Rasulullah, ma afzalul a'mal fi hadha ash-shahr. O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you have mentioned so many actions, you have mentioned so many a'mal, you have mentioned so many ibadat. My time is limited. Can you please tell me which is the most important among all these actions, all these ibadat, all these mustahabbat that you have mentioned, which one is the most important that I have to perform, and I have to make sure that in my time there is a specific slot for this action that you have mentioned, because I know that all these amal salihat that you have mentioned in this sermon, maybe for me it is not possible. Again, as I mentioned to you that before entering the holy month of Ramadan, we have to ask ourselves too. There are so many things. You know that sometimes people ask this question, or maybe this is a question that you ask yourself too, that the month, the Laylatul Qadr is there, and when you open Mafatul Jinan, when you open Iqbalul Amal, when you open the book of du'as, there are so many amals are there, okay? Like for example, you think that, okay, if I start performing this amal that is mentioned in Mafatul Jinan, for example, which is a selective book of amal that is mentioned by Mafatul Jinan by Shaykh Abbas-e-Kummi Rizwanullah Ta'ala alayh, for a common man, you say, okay, it is not possible for me to perform all these actions, all these du'as, all these namaz that is mentioned by Shaykh Abbas-e-Kummi in Mafatul Jinan. Now I have to select. Now this is a question that what should I select? Which is most important among all these amal that is mentioned in Mafatul Jinan? How I should select among all these amal that is mentioned there? What is most important for me? And in, like for example, in masajid, in Husainiya, and in centers that we have, this is a question that people normally ask, that after the amal people come to you and why you recited that dua, why you not recited that dua, why you have time for this specific namaz, why you do not have the time for this salah. Okay, this is a question which normally asked. Now Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam is asking Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ala Muhammad. If I ask myself right now, before looking at the answer of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that what I think, what is most important action? Okay, if I ask you brothers, that okay, what do you think? Which is the most important action that we have to perform in the holy month of Ramadan? Bismillah, any one of you? Fasting. Fasting is one of the most important duty that we have, and definitely one of the thing, as I mentioned you in the Quran, that fasting has been mentioned because it is the reason or the prerequisite to reach the state of taqwa. So fasting is definitely one of the important things that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned. Sorry? Istighfar. So one other stuff that is mentioned by one other brother is istighfar. Till now we have two options, Saum and istighfar. Salawat. Recite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala. Reciting salawat on Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, and definitely, yeah, it is one of the greatest ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we perform, and it is mentioned in the riwayat that the reward of any ibadah that we perform can be counted and accumulated by the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only ibadah that is not, the angels are not able to count and find out that what is the thawab and the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives is definitely the salawat on Muhammad and Ali Muhammad alayhimus salam. But interestingly, the action that was mentioned by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a non-action, that you should not be performing something. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say like this: Ya Abul Hasan, O Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, O Abul Hasan, afzalul amali fi hadha ash-shahr al-wara' min maharimillah. I have mentioned all these things, but the most important action that you have to perform in this month is to protect yourself from things that are haram in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that are prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as I mentioned to you, that a lot of times we are so involved in performing all these actions that we have to in ibadah that we are performing, we completely forget about this important responsibility that is there. And in the beginning, when I was mentioning to you that when you think about the relationship between Amal and Iman, and you understand the importance of Amal or the action that is there, there is a plot that is created by our enemy, which is known as Shaitan or Iblis in Quran. And this plot that is created by enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of any enemy of the human being, is a 3-layer plan that he had. As far as our actions are concerned, what normally Shaitan do is that sometimes when we want to perform a good action, Shaitan try to come between us and this action and say, don't do that, don't do that. It's not like you are tired right now. Suppose that in the morning when you want to wake up and for Salatul Layl, Shaitan says, no, see that, okay, whole day you are working, you are tired right now, you have to take 1 hour rest so that when you go like next day you can work properly. So the Shaitan stay between us and the action. So it stops us from performing a good action. Now suppose that if I go forward and perform this action, a good action that is there, I'm not listening to the words of Shaitan. I say, okay, no, I will go forward and inshallah I will wake up and perform the Salatul Layl inshallah ta'ala. May Allah give us the tawfiq inshallah for every night that is there, inshallah we will be able to pray Salatul Layl inshallah ta'ala. Recite our salawat. Allahumma salli ala. So Shaitan will not stop here. Shaitan says, okay, like for example, you know that when Prophet Ibrahim ala nabiyina wa alayhi salatu wasalam was obligated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to slaughter his son, we have these like 3 shayateen that are symbolic representation of are there, which comes step by step, once in front of Prophet Ismail ala nabiyina wa alayhi salatu wasalam, then Bibi Hajra salamullah alayha, and then Hazrat Ibrahim ala nabiyina wa alayhi salatu wasalam, and stop them from performing this task. So this is the normal strategy of Shaitan, that it will stop you from performing the action. Suppose that if a person reject the call of Shaitan and go to the second stage, then what Shaitan do? Shaitan will try to destroy this action while he is performing this action. What he do? This is mentioned as riya in Quranic ayat and the riwayat of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, that okay, shaitan will convey this message to us, okay, I am performing the action, but the purification of this action, the ikhlas due to which I am performing this action, he want to unpurify this ikhlas that is there, that I am performing this action for the sake so the people know that okay, I am performing this action. Now for example, suppose that like there was a person who was in the holy month of Ramadan, he was tired during the day, and a person came to him and said, okay, please brother, you can take some rest, you are fasting right now and then you are tired, so you can take some rest. He say, like for example, I'm not only fasting, last night the whole night was Laylatul Qadr, I was doing the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in the morning I did this, and during the day also I was performing that and that and that. He starts saying all these things. This expression, that when we want to express to the other people, we want to show the other people, okay, I am the one who is performing all these things, where the action is there, you are performing the action, but shaitan wants to destroy this action through this riya that na'uzubillah is coming in our heart. Suppose that at the second stage also I am successful, I pass this test with the flying color, still the shaitan is there. Shaitan will not feel that he is defeated. The third stage which Quran has mentioned, that after the action, I perform the action first of all, secondly I perform it with the purest of the intention for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thirdly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Quran that sometimes what happens is that after performing the action, you do something which destroys the action that you have performed in the past. So for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the infaq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran that there is a group of people who do not perform infaq. The first step they have failed. The first step when they want to perform, الَّذِينَ يَبْخَلُونَ وَيَعْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبُخْلِ. They say bukhl. They say, okay, don't do the infaq. You become faqir. You cannot give, if you do the infaq, give to other people. What about you? What about your children? You cannot protect your children. So the first step they fail. Second step, when they go and give in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what they do is that يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ رِعَاءَ النَّاسِ. There is a group of people who give their mal, they give their sadaqah, they donate in front of Allah subhanahu in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they want to tell the other people that, okay, see, that I am doing the infaq in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Third stage, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned here is that there is a group of people who destroyed their infaq, they did the infaq in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they destroyed their infaq bil manni wal adha, that they insult the people who they give the infaq to. They do the preeni in front of those people who they give the infaq. They want to show that, okay, I am the one, I have performed all these things to you. So this man and aza is there, which destroy your past amal. The amal was there in the past. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the action that you are performing right now can destroy the action that you have performed in the past. And this is the point where we have to be vigilant on our actions that we are performing. And if I want to evaluate that, why is it the case that the action that I am performing, the fast that I am doing, the recitation of the Quran that I am doing, all these infaq that I am performing in the holy month of Ramadan in the past few years, why is this the case that it is not impacting me and it is not changing my life? I have to see that, is there a case that I am performing certain actions, maybe during the actions or after the action, which are destroying my previous amal that I am performing. And destroying means that the effect of that action that I perform, I am not feeling that effect in my life. And that's why this part that Imam alayhi salatu wasalam has mentioned, that the most important and the best of the action that you have to perform in this month of the holy month of Ramadan is al-wara min maharimillah. A lot of times when I ask myself that why is it the case that I do not have the attraction and attachment and inclination to perform an ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Laylatul Qadr is there, but I do not have the power, I do not feel the attraction that I perform the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whole night. Why is it the case? Why I am feeling right now I am not that strong right now that to perform the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like for sometimes, like for example, suppose that if I look at your night of 15th of Shabaan, I can see myself that I feel, okay, no, I was not like, I have the strength to perform the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whole night. Why is it the case? A lot of times I have to do the accountability properly. I have to evaluate my actions properly. I have to see and go back and do the accountability, do the muhasibah, that what is going on in my life. Is there anything that I am missing? Maybe I am not performing my duty in front of my kids. Maybe I am not performing my duties in front of my parents. Maybe I am not performing my duties in front of my spouse. There are very small things that are there in our life which is impacting our actions, where I do not have the strength to perform the action, which are impacting the quality of the action that I am performing, or which are affecting the actions after I perform the actions purely. All these things are important for us for our evaluation and understanding. So while we are performing the good deeds in the month of Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala, and the remaining days and nights of holy month of Shabaan, the most important thing that is mentioned by both Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Imam Ali alayhi salatu was salam, please say salawat, is this part which is the plan of shaitan too, and which may affect our Iman. As I mentioned to you, this is a very close relationship that is going on between Iman and Amal Saleh, and the action that are surrounding the Amal Saleh that we are performing. So it is important for us, this part that Imam alayhi salatu wasalam has mentioned, that al-wara' min maharimillah. And there are so many dimensions to it, as I mentioned to you that. And this is the reality of taqwa. That is the final result of the fasting that we are trying to take in this holy month of Ramadan, that la'allakum tattaqun. There is a possibility. There are strong chances that there is a very strong probability that if you perform the siyam in a proper way, you reach the status of taqwa. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. There is a strong chance that you will reach that status, but it's not guaranteed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if I am thirsty and hungry from the morning and the night, it means that definitely I will reach the taqwa. No, there are certain things that I have to be careful about. I have to protect my fast, then this fast will protect me and make me to reach the status of taqwa. And as I mentioned to you that this part is important. A lot of times we are heedless about this part, and a lot of times we are involved ourselves with so many activities which are important, which are necessary. We have to perform those things, but the most important thing that I mentioned by these two great personalities is to protect ourselves from the maharim of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from those things which are prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a tawfiq initially, first of all, we have to know what is prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then secondly, give us the strength and tawfiq so that inshallah we can protect ourselves from those maharim of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah ta'ala. Recite aloud salawat. At the end of this sermon of Rasulullah, when Imam Ali asked him this question that Ma Afdal Amal, and Rasulullah replied to that Amal, Rasulullah started crying. And as I mentioned to you that this part is quite important for us to know, that what is the true maharim of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah started crying, and Imam Ali asking, Ma yubqika ya Rasulullah, why, O Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you are crying? What is the reason of your crying? Rasul said, فَقَالَ يَا عَلِي أَبْكِي لِمَا يُسْتَحَلُّ مِنْكَ فِي هَذَا الشَّهْرِ. I am crying on you and what the people will do with you, and the things that they think that are halal on them, despite the fact that this is one of the greatest maharim of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Rasulullah says, كَأَنِّي بِكَ وَأَنْتَ تُصَلِّي لِرَبِّكَ وَقَدْ انْبَعَثَ أَشْقَى الْأَوَّلِينَ وَالْآخِرِينَ شَقِيقُ آخِرِ نَاقَةِ ثَمُودَ. Rasulullah said that I am with you and I am watching you in that state that you are praying in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are in the state of sajda in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the worst of the human being in this face of the earth, he will attack you. He will try to disconnect this precious jewel of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from this physical realm. रसूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने ये जुमला अर्ज़ किया कि दुनिया का शकी तरीन मर्द दुनिया के पाकीज़ा तरीन हस्ती को इस माह मुबारक रमज़ान में शहीद कर देगा। मेरा आप ज़ियारत इमाम अली अलैहिस्सलाम में पढ़ते हैं अस्सलामु अलैका या अव्वल मज़लूम। मेरा आका और मौला अव्वलीन मज़लूम था जिसका हक़ ग़स्ब किया गया, जिसका हक़ छीना गया। ये दिन जो मेरे मौला अलैहिस्सलाम ने 40 साल भी फ़ातिमा सलाम अलैहा के बग़ैर गुजारे, ये अली के लिए सख्त तरीन अय्याम थे। शायद मेरा मौला हर कदम पर हर दिन और रात ये आरज़ू करता होगा कि मैं भी अपने मुश्किल कुशा फ़ातिमा सलाम अलैहा के पास पलट जाऊँ। इस दुनिया की इन सख्तियों से अली अलैहिस्सलाम को गुजरना ना, लेकिन तारीख़ ये बताती है कि इसी माह मुबारक रमज़ान के अंदर एक दिन वो आया कि जब मेरा मौला रात की हर थोड़ी देर बाद जब अपनी बेटी के यहाँ मेहमान था, हर थोड़ी देर बाद सहने खाना में जाता था, आसमान की तरफ रुख करता था, आंखों से आंसू जारी होते थे अली की चेहरे पर, अली की ज़बान से जुमला जारी होता था, न मैंने झूठ कहा न मुझसे झूठ बोला गया, हाँ इसी रात का अली से वादा किया। थोड़ी देर बाद मेरा मौला सुबह की अजान का वक्त होता है, मस्जिद कूफा की जानिब अली के कदम बढ़ना शुरू हुए। बाज़ रिवायतों के मुताबिक दुनिया की तमाम मखलूक़ात अली का रास्ता रोक रही थी। अरे सबको पता था अब यतीम होने वाले हैं, फ़कत हसन हुसैन और ज़ैनब और उम्मे कुलसूम यतीम नहीं होने वाली। अरे इस कायनात की तमाम मखलूक़ात यतीम होने वाली है। लेकिन थोड़ी देर बाद मस्जिद कूफा में ये आवाज़ गूंजी, फुस्तु व रब्बिल काबा अला क़द क़ुतिला अमीरुल मुमिनीन कद हुद्दिमत मनारुल हुदा। अरे हिदायत का मनार नाबूद हो गया, हिदायत के सितारा गुरूब हो गया। अली इब्न अबी तालिब इस दुनिया में नहीं। अला व लअनतुल्लाहि अलल कौमिज़ ज़ालिमीन व सयअलमुल लज़ीना ज़लमू अय्य मुनक़लबिन यन्क़लिबून। परवरदिगार हमारी इस कलील इबादत को अपनी बारगाह में कबूल फरमा। परवरदिगार शब जुम्मा की जो शब ज़ियारत इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम भी है, हम सब को हकीकी मानों में शिया इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम बनने की तौफीक नसीब फरमा। परवरदिगार तुझे वास्ता मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद का फज़ंद ज़हरा मुंतक़िम खून इमाम हुसैन इमाम ज़माना अज्जलल्लाहु ताला फ़रज शरीफ की ज़ुहूर में ताजील फरमा। हमें उनके हकीकी आवान व अंसार में से करार दे और उनके ज़ुहूर के ज़मीन साज़ों में से हमारा शुमार भी करार दे इंशाअल्लाह ताला। रिसाइट सलवात।